Maintenant, Kwekwe, Wajia, bonjour, Watae. We have the privilege today to have with us for the festival. We have somebody very important from the Navajo land, the Navajo Nation, Ivey Camille Manybeads Tso. Can you present yourself and tell us who you are? Yeah.
Ivey Camille Manybeads Tso. Hi, my name is Ivey Camille Manybeads Tso. I'm from Navajo Nation, Diné in Arizona. I started making films when I was 9 years old with my uncle Clebenolly.
Wow.
And now I have just finished working on my first feature documentary, Powerlands, which is about the effects that energy corporations have on Indigenous people on a global scale. So we look at Oaxaca, Colombia, Standing Rock, Black Mesa, and the Philippines, and all the forms of resistance.
Wow. And if I understand, this film has been you have been working on this film for many years.
Yeah, Jordan and I started when I was 19, and so it was a total of a 7-year-long project before it was finally released. Yeah.
So we know your age now.
There you
go. But anyway, at 25 years old, 26, to have a feature film is certainly a great accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Usually, not usually, but often the Indigenous filmmaker is very concentrated on the subject that affects his own or her own community. And what is very special in your case, you right from the start, you look at many places, not only in Americas, but also in Philippines, in South America, Colombia. How do you have this scope of perspective?
Well, my producer Jordan had just come back from Colombia when we started filming in Black Mesa together. And truly the only difference between the two was the monkeys and the language. Like, we used the same parts of the cactus to help with different parts of roofs. We wore similar clothes. Our clothes it was even the same company that we were fighting against.
Yeah.
And so once that perspective really started, it really opened up the rest of the world to everything. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is everyone's Indigenous to somewhere. And so I just always tell people, like, behave like you're Indigenous because you are. And when you look at it in that perspective, in that way, as we are shepherds on this global scale for this, for this beautiful little rock we all live on, you really have to move forward with thinking like how we always teach to think 3 generations ahead. So it starts, you're not doing the things today for your kids or your grandkids, but you're doing them for your great grandchildren. And so what can you do today or tomorrow that is going to make it better for your great grandkids? Even if you don't want kids, if you're going to have great grandnieces, there's always going to be someone who you're going to have an impact on. And in 3 generations, how will they remember you? Will it be that you polluted a river, or will it be that you helped shepherd and keep this land beautiful, growing, and evolving with us instead of being forced into submission by us?
It is often said that it takes a whole village to raise a kid, but it takes a village and many generations to raise a kid. In Black Mesa, if I remember well, it was the Peabody Mining Company looking for coal.
Yeah, Peabody and BHP were mining coal starting in the negotiations started in the 1950s, but the coal started to be mined in the 1960s. And in the 1960s, what you see happen is the BIA and the land and mineral mining associations worked together to redraw the Navajo reservation border and the Hopi reservation border. And it follows the coal seam, because the people in the Hopi government were saying yes to coal mining and the people in the Navajo government were saying no to coal mining. So they gave the coal seam to the Hopi side. And my family happened to fall on the wrong side of that fence back in the day. And so I grew up, being a part of the resistance. It's how my parents met, and my grandma's been a part of it my whole life. And so being involved and growing up in it it definitely changed my perspective a little bit around mining, because I've never seen it as a good thing. It's always been something that's bad. But we also see all this forced extraction happening on the reservation. We've got water extraction. There was uranium mining. One of my grandfathers passed away very young due to radiation poisoning from working in the uranium mines. And so it's just a common story out on the res, is that we all grew up, some people on the wrong side, quote unquote, or some people on the right side, quote unquote, of this fence that was put up to tear apart two tribes and the Hopi and Navajos traditionally are sister tribes, we're family. And so this was put to divide and separate us. And it worked for a really long time. And in 2018, Peabody Coal actually went bankrupt, and they are allowed to mine pre-mined materials. So in 2018, they just blew up a whole bunch of the coal seam, and they've still been removing that, and they'll have 20 years to do that. So in 2038, they'll stop, but they are not mining anything new at the moment.
The experience we have here in Canada, and especially in Quebec, is that after the mine is closed, the land is really polluted. It would take years and years to make it better and hopefully back to its natural nature. It's natural nature, yes.
Yeah. Well, what we're seeing is Peabody Coal, one, destroyed and devastated the landscape while mining. It used to be, this is a region of the United States that was carved by water. It was carved by water so long ago that we have really unique and interesting formations.
And beautiful landscape.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most beautiful landscape in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
And they are famous.
Well, they destroyed probably about a third of that natural landscape while mining. And so we lost so much of that beauty, and we're never going to get it back. They can cover up the mine, but now it just looks like rolling hills. We've lost the landscape. We've lost the trees. They've devastated the aquifer underneath. So we're seeing massive desertification, and those ramifications go to every single place around it. We're watching Lake Powell and Lake Mead drop to numbers that have not been seen since the Colorado River was dammed in the 1960s. So it's been 60 years of having these massive sources of water being brought to the surface and forced out, and now it's completely depleted. And we're watching wildfires rage like crazy, massive flooding happen after the wildfires anytime it rains. People's houses, cars, and even lives are at jeopardy every year starting in April to September, just because of how much the desertification has affected. And all of that was, not all of it, but most of it was done by Peabody Coal and BHP extracting water, which is so necessary. It's a desert. We don't get a whole lot of rain. So the water underground is what's so necessary for us. And then, the landscape is completely devastated. We're also watching Peabody Coal, in an act of warfare against the Diné people, capped water sources. So a lot of the natural springs got closed and polluted, and they're no longer open. We are forced to use non-potable water on the res most of the times through windmills. And those are highly polluted with coal and uranium, copper, gold, and sometimes even oil. But so there's lots of ramifications from this extensive mining project that has been happening.
Yeah, but we speak about a lot about the bad effects of the mining and of the extractive industry, but your film is more about the leaders who fight against those catastrophes and try to maintain, to defend the land.
Yeah, that's the thing that I keep seeing is, people are very adaptive. We're going to move just like water, and if we come across a rock, we'll either go over it or around it. It's really beautiful to see these communities, and so often when these communities are shot, we get this like poverty porn where it's like extended bellies, like starving dog, and like flies flying around. And I grew up seeing those pictures of my community and being like, that's not what my home looks like. And so going to these other communities, I wanted them to feel, taken care of and know that I cared about them and that to me, their family. And so little scenes like watching someone show off her kitchen is, everyone has an auntie, a grandma, or a mom who is really proud of the cooking that she makes. Or there's two little girls, in Oaxaca who are like whispering and gossiping, and everyone sees little girls whispering and gossiping. It's a human moment. And I think having those brought to life shows that, like, yes, there's this huge struggle where everything feels all encompassing, but we are still human. We are still here. We are still having these human beautiful moments together, and the resilience and strength that all of these communities show on a daily basis is the most inspiring thing I've really been privy to witness.
Yes, and so we can invite the public, those who are listen to us. This is really a strong documentary about people's fighting and people's keeping hope even in the most difficult situations. And if you want to be connected in a way or another, or to be just informed about the indigenous causes around the world, this is the film to see in that festival. This is at 6 o'clock tonight at the Cinéma du Musée. And of course, the director will be there to exchange with the audience, and everybody is welcome.